Hey all you cool cats and kittens, noted E-Rascal Adam Clery here for WhatCulture Wrestling, and it dawned on me this morning when I was getting up for my morning ablutions that one day, all of this, it'll be over. Yeah, it will be finished and we'll all reminisce over this incredibly weird time in pro wrestling and indeed the entire rest of the world, and we'll make jokes about it, won't we? We'll be watching the show and we'll be like, oh, crowd aren't really into this. If they got any quieter, why, I'd think we were back in the throes of the old COVID-19, etc, etc. What fun we'll have. And speaking of both fun and indeed having it, Essential Service NXT Eyebrow Raise was back on our screens last night, and the card looked even more stacked than last month's Fakeover. Both the major titles were on the line in dream matches. One of them because it's a fantasy booked pairing, and the other because it literally contains a man called Dream. Not only that, but Finn Balor's back. We're in the final stages of the Cruiserweight Interim Championship tournament thingy, and yes, I know NXT only tends to deliver a banger when you're not expecting it, and normally lets you down when you are, but even if tonight before I start, can I have a little sip of the old NXT, eh? You get it? That stands for Neil Young. Right, so on we go with the show, and our first contest is Johnny Gargano versus Dominik Dijakovic, and the immediate thing that leapt out at me here was that Johnny Gargano has stopped using This Rebel Heart as his entrance music. Down. Going to quickly quantify that for the people who take this show way too seriously. They should have just kept it because he's meant to be arrogant and think that he deserves all these things. And yes, Candice is bad now, but that's just because it was a parallel to a complete too good to ever succeed. Johnny Gargano thinks he's just not getting opportunities. It's not really about that. I just think if Sami Zayn can be heel with Sami Zayn's music, Johnny Gargano can still be heel with one of the biggest bangers in NXT history. So, sad. Down, yes. Anyway, though, onto the match itself, and wow, would you look at that? They gave one of NXT's certified real big lads, capital letters, a match with somebody who wasn't just another one of NXT's certified real big lads, and shock and awe, we got an interesting dynamic match which was really enjoyable and good. I'm just going to say here, the pairing of both Dijakovic and Gargano is quite brave, because defeat for either man feels quite significant. Like, if Gargano loses, then his recent heel turn and his new gimmick and all of this just kind of evaporates before it's even started. And if Dijakovic loses, then he's just a perennial loser. That's another match he's lost. And after a match which was very smartly booked as quite even between the two, it was indeed Dominik Dijakovic who lost yet again. Did my research here. The man has not won a match on televised NXT since anybody? Killian Dane in February. That's bad. He failed to beat Keith Lee, he couldn't get his hands on the NXT North American Championship, and now he's lost to a man half his size. He needs to go away and be repackaged and be reborn, probably as a bit of a killer in this division. But for Gargano, this worked really, really well, because it kind of plays into this idea that the Garganos both blame NXT for their own in-ring shortcomings. So him using the ring post, the ring turnbuckle thingy with the exposed bang hit you in the head, that plays into that quite nicely. He had to kind of cheat to get the win here, so yeah, it's working. And I still really don't like Johnny Gargano like this, by the way. I still don't buy him as a credible, threatening heel, but week on week as this goes on, I still think I'm probably not supposed to. The guy is a worm, he's a weaselly little toad now, and I kind of want to see him get a run of undeserved wins and then finally get his comeuppance. I am being worked, ultimately, and if I'm being worked, then it's doing its job. Up. Ah yes, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's now time for the resumption of the best thing in NXT at the minute, the Interim Cruiserweight Championship, in which a rich pool of underutilized but nonetheless incredibly talented performers are finally being given the spectacle and the platform in which to showcase just how good they actually are in 10 minutes. Oh, it's finished. It's already finished. That's awkward. Don't get me wrong, there was absolutely nothing wrong with short matches. There was absolutely nothing wrong with mixing up the formula here in the middle of a tournament to keep it a bit varied. But this 4-minute contest between Akira Tozawa and Jack Gallagher just did not work. If you're going to do it that short, then you either need to have an out-of-nowhere finish or just have it run at 100 miles an hour. And this was neither. There was rest holds in it. Like, Tozawa just hit a big move on the outside and then managed to roll Gallagher into the ring and then just, like, casually hit his finisher. It wasn't like this breakneck, a million miles an hour wrestling match that didn't give the audience time to catch their breath. It was just a normal wrestling match. It felt like it was supposed to go for 10 minutes, but the referee went, oh, actually, guys, you're going to have to wrap this up really quickly, please. Down. The weird thing is this tournament is actually crying out for a lightning quick squash to really put somebody over as a major favourite, but this just wasn't it. If you're going to have that short a time, you need to structure the match very differently. No, this didn't work for me at all, unfortunately. All right, and up next was Chelsea Green versus Xia Li. For some reason, and by whatever metric you care to measure this, the Robert Stone brand gimmick has been very bad. Let's just look at the whole thing as a project here, right? It debuted to relatively little fanfare and then started with a loss to Kaden Carter, the one woman in NXT who was supposed to make you look good when you beat her, not the other way around. And then she did get that win back, and she did manage to get into the ladder match, but she contributed virtually nothing of note in that match. And now she has a really quick, dusty win over Xia Li that's not really going to live long in the memory. That is all Chelsea Green has been able to do since January. Ugh. Which is a shame though, because I think the idea of a brand manager in pro wrestling, who has a number of clients who are all fairly useless but do get elevated above their status purely by his management, and he's a preening little cock, isn't he? He's got the stupid turtle shell glasses and the moccasins with no socks. He just winds you up to look at him, so I do think this is a genuinely really good gimmick, but it's just nothing at the minute. Nothing's really happened with it. It is on the right track now, I will say, but a 90-second win over Xia Li after Aaliyah interfered is not it at all. And then there's the whole Xia Li Aaliyah thing on top of it as well, and just this whole segment gets a down. I am grateful that they've allowed me to compile 2 downs into one though, because the match wasn't very good. And also, if you recall, I did say the only good thing about Aaliyah versus Xia Li the other week was that story was now finished. It could be quietly allowed to die and both women could move on. But no, we're going to do this again for some reason. So this whole thing, just no, not for me, thanks. Bad. I am pleased to say though, before we move on, that is all the downs this week. That's all of them. It's like, when you make pancakes and that first pancake's absolutely terrible. Yep, and you just throw that away. That's what this week's NXT was. Pancake day. Okay. Oh, I try not to swear on these videos, but Jesus Christ. I'm actually at a loss to recall the last time I saw something in professional wrestling that made me go, wow. Because Killer Kowalski, as we're now calling him, has been presented as this like sneaky, working in the shadows, attacking you out of nowhere kind of bad guy, and that doesn't really translate what a monster he actually is. This did. There are major bands on this planet right now spending 5 or 6 figures per tour and not looking anywhere near as metal as this entrance did. Just the music and the Raven and the smoke and Scarlett Bordeaux singing the lyrics down the ramp and just the OTT-ness of it all and the pageantry and just everything. This absolutely ruled. Like NXT have experimented with a few different ways of making empty arenas not feel entirely empty and just drenching the whole thing in dry ice and having these two just emerge from the smoke. It's a masterstroke in my opinion. It gets it up, it gets the yellow jacket. And as well as that aforementioned wow out of me, this also got, oh shit, this is a match, because the bell rang and about 4 seconds later Leon Ruff was tapping. And yeah, you could argue that none of the debuts really work in this empty arena era, and yeah, you wanted to see more from him, but like the entrance did everything and now he's got a win and it's just bang, hit you in the mouth, here he is, get used to it. This was absolutely brilliant. And when I went on the old social media today, I saw people sharing this entrance and being like, oh, this was really good, but why is Scarlett Bordeaux lip syncing? Oh, that's so lame. And just, guys, yeah, I know what you mean, right? Imagine taking the sacred art of singing and doing it performatively, not real, purely for everybody's entertainment. That kind of practice has no business whatsoever in the world of simulated fighting industry professional wrestling. The hits keep coming though, and this might honestly have been the most anticipated match I've seen in NXT in absolutely ages, because it was something they've never done before. They took an all-timer, probably the best in-ring women's worker in the world today, maybe not quite in the shape of Charlotte Flair, and put her against probably the best in-ring worker in NXT, in Io Shirai, and they've never had a match of two forces quite this good. Certainly not since Ronda and Charlotte. Now, yeah, alright, that's maybe slightly over the top, but still, I was really, really hyped for this match. But as you well know, the usual NXT formula, which they get from their grown-up brothers and sisters on the main roster, is that the more you hype something up in this company, the more it tends to disappoint you. But I'm pleased to say, while I understand a lot of people thought this was bad, I will tell you now why it was actually in large part quite good. Alright, so straight up, they have failed to build heat between these two. I don't buy there's a rivalry there for any reason other than, hey, I want that belt. Well, you can't have it because it's mine. That's pretty much the long and short of this story. But the match they crafted within that, devoid of any heat, was brilliant. Like Charlotte digging into a back catalogue of old NXT moves and the whole power versus speed dynamic and both trying to take pages out the other's books and it working and not working. It was just, even though it was quite short and we did have that finish, which I'll get to in a second, this is really good in-ring storytelling devoid of an actual story. Now, yeah, alright, just as we're getting going, Charlotte hits Io Shirai with a kendo stick and it's a DQ finish, and after all that, it's a screwy one, but they were never going to put the belt on Io right now, and she's at least not been beaten by Charlotte, so she has got a reason to go back for another match. And in Ripley returning to save her, you've created a bit of tension between those two and also brought her back into the fold. I would have preferred a clear, decisive finish after a brilliant 20-minute match, but if I wasn't going to get that, this kind of makes sense, I guess. I'm giving it an up, but I understand why everyone's crapping on it. Yet again, though, everybody, the NXT parking lot is the least safe place on this earth. It is no wonder they're continuing to do these shows, in my opinion, because not even a virus could get through that unscathed. Yes, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's now time for the resumption of the best thing in NXT at the minute, the interim Cruiserweight Championship, in which a rich pool of underutilized but nonetheless incredibly talented performers are finally being given the spectacle and the platform in which to showcase just how good they actually are in 10 minutes. Oh, it's finished. It's already finished. That's awkward. Hey, see what I did there? Anyway, this match is getting an up though, not a down, and the reason for that is because of all the reasons I laid out in that previous entry. If you're going to do a match like this, there are good ways to do it. The first match did not do them, this match did. 100 miles an hour, breakneck speed, do not give the audience a chance to catch their breath, out of nowhere finish. That's what this was. There was no rest holds, it was just bang, 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 smash mouth pro wrestling. Then Kushida caught the armbar out of virtually nothing, and that was the end of it. In a way, Jake Atlas genuinely looks better losing this match than Akira Tozawa did in winning his, because he got beat off somebody who looked like a genius, whereas Tozawa just beat somebody who looked like a dope. It's not always the result, you see, it's how you get there. Anyway though, if you are watching this NXT, and I know you are, then 10 minutes minimum for these matches next week, please. I'll not ask again. Alright, next up, I always personally think Finn Balor's quite bad at promos. It's just something about the pitch of his voice doesn't quite resonate with how threatening and broody he's trying to be. I have exactly the same problem, so I sympathise, but this was good. I thought it was a bit rambling and nonsensical, but it did at least make that whole weird way of writing him off TV look like it was going to lead to something interesting. And boys and girls, we have a mystery. Now, I'm giving this section an up, but just something about that world-weary expression, that like seen it all demeanour while he's standing at that podium. Speaking as a man who used to be a university lecturer, I know that body language when I see it. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Balor's introduction to pro wrestling insider terms for beginners, lesson 1. The Office. A noun, an informal term used by pro wrestlers to describe the men and women who make the booking decisions in a pro wrestling company. Push. A verb, the act of increasing your standing in pro wrestling, usually as a result of favourable booking decisions, either by winning matches, increasing your microphone time, or entering a feud with a more notable pro wrestler. The Guy. a noun, a curious phenomena specific to WWE of needing to have one single performer constantly given the most prominent opportunities available, regardless of ability or fan support, normally done at the expense of other more popular or more talented wrestlers. Squash. An adjective, what both Chelsea Green versus Xia Li and Akira Tozawa versus Jack Gallagher was supposed to be, but wasn't. Right, thank you everybody, that's enough for today, but for next week, you'll make sure you've read chapters 7 through 12 of Michael Sidgwick's development hell. This will be on the test. Oh, wait, actually, no, here's a squash. 24 seconds it took Cameron Grimes to put away Denzel Dejournette. That's how you do it. Now, he was laid out by Balor after the match, which does sort of undo all the momentum you've gained from having a 24-second squash, but it does also at least give us a potentially interesting combination in these two, since it's going to be months before Balor's able to work Walter. I liked it. Just a couple of things on this. First of all, that over-the-shoulder shot of Finn Balor returning to the ring, and the way he said, "You've been talking for 2 minutes," was just pure comedy in my eyes. I absolutely loved this section, but for reasons I probably wasn't supposed to love it. Anyway, Finn Balor literally promised to decapitate whoever it was attacked him backstage, so let's see how that plays out. Right, and now your main event of the evening. You've sat through the Roderick Strong feud, you've sat through all those weeks of literally phoned in promos from poolside. Here is your reward. All 7 minutes of it. Yep, this was literally the most nonsensical NXT Championship feud ever that, let's not forget, started with Velveteen Dream returning with a picture of Marina Shafir on his cock. Thing is though, not unlike Shirai versus Charlotte, it'd be very easy to be down on this for not delivering the kind of standards we associate with championship matches for this particular belt, but also not unlike Shirai versus Charlotte, it does, when you actually think about it and get past the initial disappointment of its short run time and its kind of screwy finish, probably make the most amount of sense and was enjoyable in the context of what it was. Look, right, as I've said for weeks and weeks and weeks, there is just absolutely nothing in this Cole versus Dream feud. There was no real heat, there was no real logic, there was no real sense. All we were ever going to get out of it was a short and enjoyable match, and lo and behold, all we got out of it was a short and enjoyable match. Plus, the Loomis interference at the end, technically meaning it was his fault that Dream didn't win, sets up a far more interesting feud than this was ever going to be. And come on, let's face it, the match itself, despite its short run time, was really good. It was like a proper NXT Championship match condensed into this short run time. They knew they could go really quick because they didn't have to stretch it out, and we got all the usual spots. It was back, it was forward, there was near falls, there was the Undisputed Era interference shot, which the face managed to fight off, and there was a visual pinfall, but then he gets taken out by Adam Cole, and they do that every single time, so I don't mind seeing a far shorter version of it than we'd normally get. This didn't need to be 30 minutes long, it did its job in 7. And I'm so tired of saying under the circumstances, but this match, under the circumstances, was everything it needed to be. It was fine. It was a B- wrestling match, and that's an up because it's better than it was bad. There you are. And is this just me, but in all the years of hearing Adam Cole go, "Adam Cole, baby," I've never actually heard Adam Cole say "Adam Cole, baby" without the crowd. That was really weird. And just quickly before I go, it's time for the most important segment here on NXT Ups and Downs. It is, of course, Bug Watch. Yes, here you are, the jazzy funky up I will automatically give NXT if it gives me sight or sound of Rick Buggs a la Eric Bugerhagen, and did it. Not even going to do the spinny thing this week. No, they never give me what I want because I'm not allowed nice things. So, there you have it. Those are all the ups and downs for this week's episode of NXT. Let me know what you made of them all in the comments below. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe like you would. But in the meantime, do go catch me on Twitter at Adam Clery, CLERY. But until next week, my friends, or until you just watch another video with me in, I make loads of them, I've been Adam Clery, hashtag on Thursdays, we wear yellow, and I will see you soon. Mwah! Bang!